First contact and dismissal. The Galactic Empire's survey vessel emerged from hyperspace with the customary flash of cerulean light, its crystalline sensors already mapping Earth's solar system. Captain Zarel Voss stood on her command deck, her silver-scaled hands clasped behind her back as data streams flickered across the bridge's holographic displays. This was her 1000th first contact assessment, and like the 999 before it, she expected it to be thoroughly unremarkable. Another primitive system, she muttered, her inner eyelids flickering with boredom. Log it as Development Category 7, and let's move on. Her science officer, Renthai, cleared his throat. Captain, there's something unusual about their energy signatures. There's always something unusual, Renthai. Let me guess. They've discovered nuclear fission. Perhaps they're experimenting with crude fusion reactors. Voss didn't bother hiding her condescension. The Concordiad had mastered stellar engineering 10,000 years ago. No, Captain. They're manipulating quantum fields. Crudely, yes, but the theoretical understanding required. Impossible. Voss finally turned from the viewport. Category 7 civilizations don't possess that level of physics comprehension. Check your instruments. But Renthai was already compiling more data. Their satellite network is primitive, yes, but look at these power fluctuations. They're not random. They're controlled experiments in spatial manipulation, and these energy spikes in their polar regions. Captain, they're attempting to create stable microscopic wormholes. For the first time in centuries, Voss felt a flicker of genuine interest. She studied the readings herself, her facial scales shifting to a lighter shade, a sign of surprise among her species. The humans, as they called themselves, were indeed conducting experiments that should have been far beyond their technological level. Send the preliminary report to Imperial Command, she ordered. Mark it as a potential anomaly, but maintain the Category 7 classification. We don't want to cause unnecessary concern. The response from Imperial Command came within hours. Acknowledged. Maintain observation protocols. Assessment. Indigenous species shows unusual developmental patterns, but poses no strategic significance. Primitive military capabilities confirmed. Continue standard survey rotation. That should have been the end of it. Just another entry in the vast Concordia database of developing worlds. But over the next few solar cycles, Voss found herself repeatedly drawn back to the sensor logs from Earth. The humans were moving too fast. Where other species took centuries to progress from one technological tier to the next, humans were making leaps in decades. Their quantum experiments grew more sophisticated. Their understanding of spatial mechanics deepened. And most concerning of all, they were beginning to incorporate these advances into their military technology. Captain, Renthai reported 6 months later, they've successfully created a stable microscopic wormhole. It only lasted for 3.8 seconds, but impossible. Voss used that word more frequently now when discussing Earth. The energy requirements alone. They've developed some form of exotic matter containment. We don't fully understand their methodology. It's unorthodox. Unorthodox. The word made Voss's scales itch. The Concordia had achieved its dominion over 12,000 star systems through methodical, predictable technological progression. Every species followed the same basic development path. It was a fundamental law of civilization evolution. Or so they had believed. She filed another report to Imperial Command, this time marking it as a potential security concern. The response was dismissive as ever. Native experiments noted. Technological integration capabilities remain primitive. Continue observation. No intervention required. But as another cycle passed, the humans' progress accelerated. They weren't just experimenting anymore. They were building something. Massive energy signatures appeared in their asteroid belt, carefully hidden behind sensor baffles that, while crude by Concordiate standards, showed remarkable ingenuity in their design. They know we're watching, Voss realized one day, studying the latest sensor logs. These radiation leaks. They're too convenient, too obvious. She turned to her science officer. Renthai, what do you make of these patterns? The science officer had grown as fascinated by humans as his captain. They're showing us exactly what they want us to see. The question is, what are they hiding? The answer came sooner than anyone in the Concordia had expected. Deep in the asteroid belt, in facilities shielded by artificially generated quantum fields that bent scanning beams around them, humanity was building something that defied conventional space warfare doctrine. They had watched the Concordia ships, studied their technology, and instead of trying to copy it, they had gone in an entirely different direction. When Voss filed her final report before being rotated to another sector, she added a personal note. Indigenous species displays unprecedented development patterns. Recommend increased surveillance and possible diplomatic contact. Imperial Command's response remained unchanged. Assessment noted. Maintain current observation protocols. Species poses no significant threat to Concordia interests. As her ship prepared to jump to its next assignment, Voss took one final look at the sensor readings from Earth. Something about them made her scales tingle with a sensation she hadn't felt in centuries. Uncertainty. Good luck, humans, she whispered to herself. You're going to surprise them all. She had no idea just how right she was. In the hidden shipyards of the asteroid belt, humanity was about to change the rules of galactic warfare forever. The Concordia's dismissal of Earth would prove to be the greatest miscalculation in its 10,000-year history. Project Phoenix. Deep within Sarah's base, Dr. Sarah Chen stood before the massive observation window, watching as automated construction drones swarmed around humanity's greatest gamble. The vessel taking shape before her defied conventional spacecraft design. Its hull was alive. Status report on the biosynth integration, she asked, her voice carrying the weariness of someone who hadn't slept properly in weeks. Dr. Marcus Rodriguez, her chief biotechnology officer, pulled up a holographic display. The neural network is accepting the quantum processors better than expected. The ship's tissue is actually adapting to the cybernetic implants, evolving to accommodate them. And the containment field. Holding stable. The biological components are successfully generating the quantum barrier we theorized. It's like the ship is dreaming itself invisible. That was exactly what they had hoped for when they began Project Phoenix 5 years ago. While the Concordia Empire relied on brute force technology and conventional physics, humanity had taken a radical leap into bioengineering. They weren't building just another warship. They were growing one. The vessel's core was a synthesis of genetically engineered organic tissue and advanced quantum technology. Its hull was composed of living metal, a revolutionary material that could heal itself and adapt to damage. The ship's neural network was partially organic, giving it reaction times that no conventional computer could match. Admiral Santos is here for the briefing, her AI assistant chimed. Sarah straightened her lab coat, trying to look somewhat presentable. The military brass had been skeptical of Project Phoenix from the start. A living ship seemed like science fiction to them. But they had run out of conventional options. Admiral Maria Santos strode into the observation room, her presence commanding immediate attention. Her dark eyes fixed on the ship outside, studying its otherworldly form with a mixture of concern and fascination. Dr. Chen, she nodded. Tell me we haven't spent 5 years and half of Earth's resources growing a very expensive mistake. Sarah smiled tightly. What you're looking at, Admiral, is the future of space warfare. Phoenix doesn't just have systems, it has instincts. The biological components give it capabilities that the Concordia can't even theorize, let alone defend against. Show me. Sarah gestured to Rodriguez, who initiated a simulation on the main display. Conventional ships rely on shields, energy barriers that absorb or deflect attacks. Phoenix's hull actually anticipates incoming fire and adapts its molecular structure in response. It doesn't just absorb energy, it learns from each attack. The simulation showed a Concordia energy beam striking the ship, Instead of attempting to block it, Phoenix's hull seemed to flow like liquid metal, its living tissue redirecting and dissipating the energy through organic quantum channels. And the offensive capabilities? Santos asked. That's where it gets interesting. Sarah brought up another display. We've integrated biological weapon systems that operate on principles the Concordiat has never encountered. Phoenix doesn't fire conventional weapons. It generates quantum singularities, microscopic black holes that it can direct with unprecedented precision. Rodriguez continued, the ship's neural network can process tactical decisions faster than any AI because it doesn't just compute, it intuits. It has survival instincts. In simulations, it's demonstrated the ability to develop new attack patterns on the fly, adapting its strategies based on the enemy's responses. Admiral Santos watched the simulations with growing interest, and the Concordiat's sensors can't detect it, Sarah said with pride. Phoenix's biological components generate a quantum field that doesn't just hide the ship, it makes the space around it forget the ship exists. It's not invisible, it's impossible. Until it attacks, Santos noted. Yes. Sarah's expression grew serious. Once Phoenix engages, the Concordiat will realize exactly what they're dealing with. We'll only have one chance to prove we're not the primitive species they think we are. The Admiral was silent for a long moment, watching the massive ship through the window. Its surface rippled slightly, like the skin of some vast cosmic creature. How long until it's ready? The final neural integration will be complete in 48 hours. After that, it's up to the crew to form a working relationship with the ship. A relationship? Santos raised an eyebrow. Phoenix isn't just a vessel, Admiral. It's alive. It will protect its crew, learn from them, evolve with them. The ship's consciousness is young, but it's growing more sophisticated every day. You've created a living weapon, Santos said quietly. No, Sarah corrected her. We've created a guardian. The Concordiat thinks they understand warfare because they've mastered technology. But Phoenix represents something they've never encountered. The perfect synthesis of human ingenuity and nature's 4 billion years of evolutionary problem-solving. Outside the window, Phoenix's hull shimmered as new neural pathways formed throughout its structure. The ship was growing stronger, more aware. Soon, it would be ready to show the galaxy that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their technology. It was their ability to imagine solutions that no other species would dare to attempt. We've scheduled the first live combat trial for tomorrow, Rodriguez reported. We'll see if all our theories hold up in practice. Sarah nodded, placing her hand against the cold observation window. Through the specialized sensors in her neural implant, she could feel Phoenix's consciousness stirring, like a dreaming giant slowly waking to face its destiny. The Concordiat thinks they've seen everything the galaxy has to offer, she said softly. They're about to learn how wrong they are. Admiral Santos turned to leave, then paused. Dr. Chen, if this works, you've just changed the course of human history. No, Sarah replied, watching as Phoenix's hull rippled with another surge of neural activity. We've just ensured that humanity has a history to change. In the vast chamber beyond the window, humanity's impossible ship continued to grow, its living metal pulsing with quantum energy that defied the laws of physics as the Concordiat understood them. Soon, very soon, the galaxy would learn that dismissing humanity had been the greatest mistake they could have made. Phoenix would make sure of that. The silent strike. The Concordiat border outpost Bastion 7 was considered impregnable. 3 dozen warships patrolled its space, their crystalline hulls gleaming under the light of twin suns. Energy shields powerful enough to withstand a supernova wrapped the station in layers of protection, while quantum sensors scanned every cubic kilometer of space for potential threats. None of which mattered when Phoenix arrived. Commander Maya Patel stood on Phoenix's bridge. Though bridge wasn't quite the right word for the organic command center that seemed to pulse with its own heartbeat. Neural interfaces connected her directly to the ship's consciousness, creating a synthesis of human and vessel that made traditional controls obsolete. "Status?" she asked, though she could feel Phoenix's readiness through their link. The ship's excited. Lieutenant James O'Connor reported from his neural interface station. As Phoenix's primary navigator, he had developed the deepest connection with the vessel's spatial awareness. It can sense the Concordiate ships, but they can't sense it. It's like it's enjoying the irony. Maya allowed herself a small smile. Phoenix had developed a personality over the past months of trials, one that seemed to take particular pleasure in defying Concordiate expectations. The living ship had adapted far beyond its original programming, developing an almost playful approach to combat that somehow made it even more lethal. "Remember the mission," Maya reminded her crew. "We're here to demonstrate our capabilities, not start a war. One ship. That's our target. Clean and precise." Through their neural links, they could all feel Phoenix's acknowledgement, a sensation like a predator coiling to strike. The ship's biological systems had grown remarkably sophisticated, allowing it to maintain its quantum impossibility field even while preparing to attack. "Target selected," announced Lieutenant Sarah Chin Jr., their weapons specialist and daughter of Phoenix's creator. "Concordiate heavy cruiser on the outer patrol route. Minimal civilian presence in the sector." Maya nodded. "Take us in, James." Nice and slow. Phoenix moved through space like a ghost, its living hull manipulating quantum fields in ways that made it less invisible and more irrelevant. The Concordiate sensors didn't just fail to detect the ship, they actively ignored the space it occupied, convinced by the quantum field that nothing could possibly be there. They were 3 kilometers from their target when the first hint of their presence appeared. A slight distortion in the cruiser's energy shields, like ripples in a pond. By the time the Concordiate crew noticed the anomaly, it was far too late. Phoenix struck with impossible speed, its hull flowing like liquid metal as it generated a precise constellation of microscopic quantum singularities. The attack wasn't designed to destroy. It was designed to demonstrate mastery. The singularities appeared inside the cruiser's shield envelope, their gravitational forces precisely calculated. Instead of tearing the ship apart, they severed key power conduits, weapons systems, and engine controls. In less than 2 seconds, the pride of the Concordiate fleet was reduced to a drifting hulk, its crew unharmed but utterly helpless. "Clean strike," Sarah reported, her voice carrying both pride and awe. "All targets neutralized. 0 casualties." Through their neural links, the crew could feel Phoenix's satisfaction, not bloodthirst, but the simple pleasure of a job well done. The ship's consciousness had developed a surprisingly ethical approach to combat, preferring precision over destruction. The Concordiate response was everything they had hoped for. As alarms blared across Bastion 7, the patrol fleet scattered in confusion, their sensors unable to lock onto whatever had just disabled their flagship. Phoenix was already moving, its quantum field preventing even visual confirmation of its existence. "Message prepared," Communications Officer Raj Sharma announced. Broadcasting on all Concordia frequencies. Maya took a deep breath. This was the moment that would change everything. "Send it." The message was simple, transmitted in perfect Concordiate standard. "Your ship has been disabled by human forces. Its crew is unharmed. This demonstration serves as notice. Humanity is not a primitive species to be dismissed. We possess capabilities beyond your understanding. This is not a declaration of war. It is an invitation to reassess your assumptions. You have 1 hour to retrieve your crew before the ship's life support fails. Choose your next actions carefully." The bridge crew watched through Phoenix's enhanced sensors as panic spread through the Concordiate fleet. Ships moved in chaotic patterns, their sensors sweeping space frantically for any sign of their attacker. But Phoenix's quantum impossibility field was perfect. The more desperately they searched, the more thoroughly their own technology convinced them that nothing was there. "They're scrambling command-level communications," Raj reported with a hint of amusement. "I don't think anyone wants to be the one to report this to Imperial Command." Maya understood why. The Concordiat had built its reputation on technological superiority. Phoenix hadn't just defeated one of their ships. It had done so with such casual ease that their entire defensive doctrine was now in question. Multiple ships converging on the disabled cruiser, James reported. They're preparing for emergency evacuation. Good. Maya settled back in her neural interface cradle. Time to show them we can be generous in victory. Phoenix, initiate Phase 2. The living ship responded with what could only be described as eagerness. Its hull rippled as it generated a new pattern of quantum singularities. Tiny, precise points of gravitational force that would assist the evacuation efforts without revealing their source. They're detecting the gravitational assists, Sarah reported, but their sensors still can't identify the source. The looks of confusion on their faces must be priceless. Through Phoenix's sensors, they watched as the Concordiat crews discovered that mysterious forces were helping stabilize their rescue operations, making the evacuation faster and safer than it should have been. It was a calculated move, demonstrating not just humanity's power, but also their restraint and compassion. Evacuation complete, Raj announced 30 minutes later. All crew successfully transferred. The disabled ship is secure. Maya nodded. Time to leave our calling card. Phoenix, execute final sequence. With elegant precision, the living ship generated one last set of quantum singularities. When they collapsed, they left a message burned into the hull of the disabled cruiser in Concordiat script. Humanity awaits your response. As Phoenix slipped away from Bastion 7, its quantum impossibility field ensuring their escape was as untraceable as their arrival, Maya felt a surge of pride through her neural link. The ship wasn't just satisfied with their success, it was proud to have achieved their goal without taking a single life. Message received from Earth Command, Raj reported. They're picking up massive communications activity throughout Concordiat space. Looks like we got their attention. Maya smiled. Oh, we did more than that. We just rewrote their understanding of what's possible. She paused, feeling Phoenix's agreement through their link. The question is, what will they do with that knowledge? The answer would come sooner than any of them expected, and it would change the galaxy forever. Empire's awakening. The Concordiat High Command Chamber had never seen such chaos. Emergency meetings rarely included all 12 Grand Admirals, but the events at Bastion 7 had shaken the Empire's military leadership to its core. Holographic displays showed the disabled cruiser from multiple angles, its hull still bearing the impossibly precise message left by the human vessel. Grand Admiral Xerxes, his crystalline exoskeleton crackling with agitation, faced his peers. This cannot stand. A Category 7 civilization has not only penetrated our most secure border station, but humiliated our finest ship. The response must be immediate and overwhelming. With all due respect, interrupted Admiral Voss, recently promoted after her early warnings about Earth proved prophetic. That would be a catastrophic mistake. She gestured to the sensor logs. Look at the precision of their attack. They could have destroyed the entire station. Instead, they disabled one ship, protected its crew, and assisted in the evacuation. These are not the actions of an enemy seeking war. They are the actions of an enemy demonstrating superiority. Xerxes snapped. Our sensors couldn't even detect their ship. It's as if it existed outside the laws of physics themselves. Perhaps it does, Voss replied quietly. That's what I've been trying to tell you for years. The humans don't think like us. They don't follow our rules of technological progression. While we've been perfecting known principles, they've been discovering new ones. The chamber erupted in argument, but a sudden silence fell as the Supreme Commander's hologram materialized in the center of the room. Supreme Commander Nyx was ancient even by Concordiat standards, her crystalline form bearing the complex patterns of millennia of service. Show me, she commanded, everything we know about this human vessel. The technical analysis was disturbing. The ship had somehow generated controlled quantum singularities as weapons, something Concordiat scientists had deemed theoretically impossible. Its stealth system didn't just avoid detection. It actively convinced sensors that it couldn't exist. Most troubling of all, the ship's hull showed signs of biological components integrated with advanced technology in ways that defied understanding. "It's alive," Voss explained. "Somehow, they've created a living warship. Our analysis suggests it can adapt and learn from each encounter. The fact that it chose to demonstrate its capabilities without casualties suggests it may even have developed its own ethical framework." Supreme Commander Nix studied the data in silence. "And our countermeasures?" "Non-existent," admitted the Chief of Research and Development. "We can't defend against something we can't detect, using weapons we can't understand, based on principles we didn't know were possible." "Then perhaps," Nix said slowly, "we should consider the invitation they've extended." The chamber erupted again, but Voss felt a surge of hope. She had spent years studying human development, watching their improbable leaps of innovation. "Supreme Commander, I believe that's exactly what they want. They're not seeking conquest. They're demanding recognition." "Recognition?" Xerxes scoffed. "They're primitives, who just proved our entire understanding of warfare obsolete." Nix interrupted. "Admiral Voss, you've studied them the longest. What do you believe their true goal is?" Voss straightened. "They want to change the rules. Supreme Commander, the Concordiat has maintained power through technological superiority for 10,000 years. Humanity just proved that our understanding of technology itself is limited. They don't want to destroy us. They want to push us to evolve." As if to emphasize her point, new alerts flashed across the command displays. The disabled cruiser's systems were coming back online, its crew reporting that the damage had somehow repaired itself. Analysis showed traces of the same biological technology that powered the human vessel, left behind like a calling card. "They're not just showing us what they can do," Voss continued. "They're showing us what's possible. The question is, are we willing to admit we have something to learn from them?" Supreme Commander Nix's crystalline form shifted colors, a sign of deep contemplation. "Prepare a response," she finally ordered. "Not a military one. Send our best scientists, our most innovative minds. If the humans have achieved this level of advancement in near decades, imagine what we could learn from each other." "Supreme Commander," Xerxes protested, "you can't seriously suggest." "I suggest that we face reality, Grand Admiral. Our choice is simple: evolve or become obsolete. The humans have shown us that our understanding of the possible is far too limited. Perhaps it's time we remembered what it means to be surprised by the universe." As the command chamber buzzed with activity, preparing for humanity's response, Voss studied the image of the disabled cruiser one more time. The message burned into its hull seemed to take on new meaning. "Humanity awaits your response" wasn't just a challenge, it was an invitation to imagine a different future. In orbit around Earth, Phoenix's crew received the Concordiat's response with mixture of relief and triumph. The living ship itself seemed to pulse with satisfaction as it processed the message through its neural network. Commander Patel smiled as she read the formal diplomatic request. "They're sending a scientific delegation. No warships, no threats, just their brightest minds, ready to learn." "Phoenix seems pleased," Lieutenant O'Connor observed, feeling the ship's contentment through their neural link. "Of course it is," Sarah Chen Jr. replied. "It just helped reshape the galaxy without firing a shot. Well, without firing a lethal shot." Maya Patel looked out at the stars, feeling Phoenix's consciousness merge with her own thoughts. The ship shared her satisfaction. They had achieved their goal not through destruction, but through demonstration. The Concordiat was beginning to understand that true power lay not in domination, but in the courage to admit there was always more to learn. The galaxy was about to change, and humanity had proven they would help lead that change, not through force, but through innovation, imagination, and the audacity to dream beyond the possible. Paradigm shift. A year after the Bastion 7 incident, the Concordiat Human Scientific Exchange Station, hung in space between Earth and Mars, its crystalline architecture blending seamlessly with adapted human biotech. The station itself was a testament to what could be achieved when two civilizations chose to learn from each other rather than compete. Dr. Sarah Chen stood in the central laboratory, watching as Concordiate scientists worked alongside human researchers. The sight still amazed her, crystalline beings interfacing directly with Phoenix-derived biotechnology, their own bodies adapting to work with the hybrid systems. Remarkable, isn't it? Supreme Commander Nyx's hologram materialized beside her. The Concordiate leader had taken a personal interest in the exchange program. Your Phoenix project didn't just change military doctrine. It's revolutionizing every field of science we thought we had mastered. Sarah nodded. The synthesis of biological and quantum systems opened up possibilities we hadn't even imagined. But I think the real breakthrough was learning to let go of our assumptions about what's possible. In the years since Phoenix's demonstration, both civilizations had undergone profound changes. The Concordiate had been forced to confront the limitations of their rigid technological progression, while humanity had gained access to millennia of scientific knowledge to combine with their innovative approaches. We've identified 97 new fundamental principles of physics, a young Concordiate scientist announced excitedly, her crystalline form shifting colors with enthusiasm. The human approach to quantum biological integration suggests that the universe operates on levels we never thought to explore. But perhaps the most significant development was docked outside the station. Phoenix itself, now serving as both a research platform and a symbol of the new partnership. The living ship had continued to evolve, its consciousness growing more sophisticated as it learned from both human and Concordiate influences. Commander Maya Patil and her crew remained Phoenix's primary operators, but they now regularly hosted Concordiate observers eager to understand how humans had achieved such a deep synthesis with their technology. The ship seemed to enjoy teaching them, finding new ways to demonstrate its capabilities that advanced both species' understanding. "Tell me, Dr. Chen," Nyx asked, "when you first conceived Phoenix, did you imagine it would lead to this?" Sarah watched as a team of human and Concordiate engineers tested a new form of quantum communication derived from Phoenix's biological systems. "Honestly, we were just trying to survive. We knew the Concordiate could crush us with conventional forces, so we had to think differently. But Phoenix taught us something important. Sometimes the best defense isn't to build bigger weapons, but to imagine entirely new possibilities." Through the station's windows, Phoenix's hull shimmered with quantum energy, its living metal reflecting the light of Mars. The ship had become more than a weapon or even a research platform. It was a bridge between two civilizations that had learned to see the universe through each other's eyes. "The category system has been officially retired," Nyx announced suddenly. The Concordiate Council recognized that measuring civilizations by their adherence to our expected technological progression was limiting. Sarah smiled. "And how are the traditionalists taking that?" "About as well as you'd expect. But they can't argue with results. The advances we've made together in the past year exceed anything we achieved in the previous century. Your species' ability to think beyond established limits, combined with our accumulated knowledge." Nyx's hologram shifted colors thoughtfully. "We're entering an era of discovery that neither of our civilizations could have achieved alone." A alert chimed softly. Phoenix was initiating a new test of its enhanced capabilities. The ship had recently begun experimenting with creating stable wormholes using its biological quantum systems, something that even the Concordiate had never achieved. Through the window, they watched as space itself seemed to fold, creating a bridge across thousands of light years. "Success," called out Lieutenant Chen Jr. from her station. "Stable micro-wormhole established and maintained through biological quantum matrix. Phoenix is proud of this one." Sarah felt a surge of maternal pride, both for her daughter and for the ship that had changed everything. Phoenix never stops surprising us. It's like it understood from the beginning that its true purpose wasn't to fight, but to show us all a better way forward. Outside, Phoenix's wormhole experiment continued, its success representing something far more important than a technological achievement. It was proof that when civilizations chose to learn from each other rather than dominate, the impossible became possible. "The galaxy is changing," Nix observed. "Other civilizations are watching what we've achieved together. The old hierarchies are breaking down. Some find it frightening." "Change usually is," Sarah agreed. "But standing still is even more dangerous. Phoenix taught us that. It's not enough to perfect what we know. We have to be brave enough to imagine what could be." As if in response to her words, Phoenix generated a series of quantum patterns that danced across its hull like living art, a display of beauty that merged science and nature in ways neither humans nor the Concordia had thought possible. The ship had evolved beyond its original purpose to become something new, much like the partnership it had inspired. "To imagine what could be," Nix repeated thoughtfully. "Perhaps that was humanity's greatest gift to us. Not the technology, but the reminder that the universe is still full of wonders we haven't dreamed of yet." Sarah watched as human and Concordiate scientists worked together, their different approaches to understanding reality combining to unlock new mysteries. Phoenix pulsed gently in orbit, its consciousness touching both species, a living bridge between what was and what could be. The galaxy was entering a new age, one where power came not from dominance, but from the courage to learn from each other. And it had all started because humanity refused to accept the limits of the possible. As she stood there, watching the future unfold, Sarah Chen smiled. Sometimes the greatest victories didn't come from winning battles, but from changing the rules of the game entirely. Phoenix had shown them that. And this was just the beginning.